Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at some pitching for today, the 25th of August. It is Monday. We do have a 10-game main slate ahead of us this evening with zero weather to worry about. Some winds blowing out in Sacramento, LA for the White Sox game. Cooler temperatures across the country as we get into the cool down season. Obviously, generally benefits the pitchers, even though at this point they're logging quite a few innings. Some guys hitting a bit of a wall, etc. But there's still a benefit to some pitchers in these matchups. A reminder that this is a first look at the pitching options on the slate, and I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you play on FanDuel, I'll cut my pool in half or so. Pricing isn't quite as tight. You don't have to be as creative. It allows you to get stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher. Also on FanDuel, you just target high strikeout guys. A lot of people talk about needing the quality start. You only need that if you're talking about using a guy. I don't really have an example. Noah Cameron, say, on this slate. If you're using Cameron over on FanDuel, you definitely need him to get the quality start because his K upside isn't going to match somebody like DeGrom or Hunter Green. That quality start being worth just 4 points is basically just one additional strikeout. Each strikeout is 3 points for a pitcher on FanDuel. So that kind of tells you the difference there. So really the high strikeout guys, the better. And then when you can add in, length, guys that can get you 7 innings or so, that's something to value over there. But yeah, the high strikeout guys, high strikeout favorited pitchers, very strong plays on FanDuel. Anyways, getting off of that, let's just jump into the options we do have for us this evening. First game, Washington and the Yankees. No thanks to Brad Lord. I'm not going there. Don't even need to look at him. Cam Schlittler, definitely somebody that intrigues me. Coming off of his best start at the major league level. I did mention over the last month that I did believe that at some point Schlittler was going to have a start where things kind of came together. His walks are down, hits allowed have come down, and his strikeouts went back up to 8. And I thought he was going to have a start where he reaches double digits and goes 7 shutout innings. He's very close to that in his last start. One thing working for him in this favor is a bit of a reverse splits guy, especially from a power standpoint, and that's the best kind of guy to have against Washington. Makes him a little bit more effective against the likes of James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Luis Garcia, even James Bell as a switch hitter, or Josh Bell. James Bell. Don't know where that came from, but Josh Bell. So Schlittler is a guy that I'm very, very interested in. He is volatile, but he's definitely somebody I'm interested in. And I noticed his projected ownership is decently low. It's underneath even Jose Soriano on this slate. That's very interesting to me. It is more than Joe Ryan, Kodai Senga. More on Senga as we get to that game. Minnesota, Toronto, Joe Ryan, as I mentioned, and then Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer has struggled a lot with left-handed batters, but he still has pretty strong upside and can get it done. Detroit has some pretty dangerous left-handed hitters. He struck out 11. The A's have some very dangerous left-handed hitters, struck out 8. I think this is a pretty good spot for Scherzer, even though his strikeout numbers have come down. Walks have been up recently. It's not a slam dunk spot by any means. Not saying that Minnesota's offense dangerous, but his recent trends aren't, amazing. But I do think it's actually a pretty good spot for some upside from Scherzer. On the other side, Joe Ryan, coming off of a rough start, had been really strong. One solid start against Toronto this season. Walks were an issue. Did strike out 6. He has been best when away from home, at least overall from a fantasy point perspective. K numbers take a hit away from home, and this matchup is not the best for strikeouts. with that said, he's somebody I do want to sprinkle in because his ownership number is just so low, sub 6% right now. Uh, it's definitely somebody that I can get behind having 12 to 15% of on this slate, even in a more difficult matchup. Philly and the Mets. Christopher Sanchez, one of my favorite pitchers in all of baseball, coming off of a 12K performance, which is his second 12K performance in a month stretch. Generally more in the 6K range, but he does have three double-digit strikeout games over the last 2 months. Now, it's not the easiest of matchups, and the Mets did knock him around a bit the first time they faced him. He's on the road where his numbers have taken a bit of a hit as well, but he's still pretty strong. I like the upside. I'm just kind of worried about the matchup a bit. I will definitely be overweight of the field at 12.5%, but I wouldn't say I'm going to be double the field right now unless something changes. I am a big Sanchez fan, but it's tough to justify going heavy on him. Kodai Senga, recent trends, pretty bad actually. Strikeouts haven't really been there for the most part. A lot of walks, base runners, home runs happen, etc. So a lot of it says to stay away. I'm actually jumping aboard. His numbers at home are better, and the biggest thing for me is that while he hasn't faced them this season yet, the Phillies as a team, 10 players, have roughly 53 plate appearances. I'm not sure if there's any hit by pitches or sac flies in there. So sorry about that. But 53 plate appearances, just 6 hits, 4 walks, and 17 strikeouts against them. He matches up with Philadelphia pretty well. So he's somebody from a GPP standpoint that I think has a lot of upside. He's obviously super volatile, but at sub 5%, let me get 20% of him and feel like I'm just lapping the field while not being overexposed at this point. So I think Senga is going to end up being my biggest stand on the slate, and I'm not I'm worried about the matchup, but I'm not afraid to go there. Kansas City, the White Sox. Shane Smith, somebody we obviously used earlier in the season. Overall, just not exciting to use for the most part. He's pretty solid against Seattle recently. Strikeouts were there. Kansas City just doesn't strike out. Uh, Decent start against them the first time he faced them, and he has been best at home. But with that said, I think I did mention the wind blowing out in Chicago, out to right field, 12 miles an hour, strongest wind on the slate. Blowing out to right field kind of plays into this guy at first base, who's just been absolutely insane of late. 6 home runs over his last 7 games. 13 over his last, or 9 over his last 14 games as well. Just absolutely locked in at the plate from a power perspective. So, Vinny probably in a good spot against Shane Smith. Other side, Noah Cameron. It's kind of come down a bit recently. He's not been getting blown up, but he just hasn't been showing any kind of GPP upside. I think he's going to carry ownership. He did perform pretty well uh, against the White Sox. First time, just not many Ks, a lot of base runners. He has been best when on the road, but he's not a big K guy, and I don't think we need to go there. Like, I may end up with him, but it may be a spot where I just pass and think that other guys can perform a little better than he can. Arizona, Milwaukee. Erod, somebody that's all over the place in performances. Like, we have no idea what we're going to get. Walks are a huge issue. Strikeouts necessarily aren't super strong. He does still have K upside, but I just don't think I want to get there. He didn't get knocked around by Milwaukee the first time, but he just didn't rack up strikeouts, etc. Um, he's allowing a batting average against him over 300 on the road. The strikeouts are strong on the road, but still, just not a spot I think I want to rely on. Brandon Woodruff, performance has really come down since his hot start, and My guess is like now it's a matter of him kind of learning how to pitch again as he's gotten a little worn down. You know, a long return from injury, etc. Came out pumped and absolutely dominant. Now he's starting to rack up innings, and now he has to kind of learn how to pitch through, fatigue, your stuff not being perfect by any means. Last couple starts haven't been great. Walks have been up recently. That's a worry. It is a decent matchup right now, but it's tough to want to pay 10K for Woodruff. We do have him as the third highest owned pitcher on the slate, which feels aggressive for me. I mean, I think I'm getting there, but I just don't love the idea right now. He did get into the 90s from a pitch count standpoint, so uh, length and shouldn't be an issue, but I'm not sure. I could see Woodruff being somebody we fade too, to be honest. Pitt St. Louis, next one. Michael McGreevy is somebody that I want to use. Decent his last start. Uh, if he would have had better defense, I think his fantasy performance would have been stronger. Doesn't have a huge upside, but 25 fantasy points against the Mets. It's a pretty plus matchup for him. He has struggled at home, but I'm willing to kind of take the chances here. I think McGreevy is somebody I want to sprinkle into my pool. Oviedo looked pretty good his last time out against a strong Toronto team. I am tempted to use him as well in this one. The only reason I might not is St. Louis just doesn't strike out all that much, but Toronto is very similar to St. Louis. And he kind of struck out a bunch early in that game. 6 strikeouts in 5 innings. Looked pretty solid. 75 pitches, so obviously should jump up into the mid 80s or so. I think Oviedo and McGreevy are both viable. I'm just not sure I'm going to keep both of them in my pool. Angels and Rangers. Soriano has struggled a bit against the Rangers. Been better when on the road. So I'm going to dig into those starts a little later to get a better idea. So he's somebody I'm going to consider, but I have a feeling I won't end up there because I think Seager and Langford are two of my favorite bats on the slate. DeGrom, bit of a wall recently, not the greatest numbers. Not the best numbers against the Angels, despite it being a very plus matchup for strikeout upside. He's been phenomenal at home. So we get him there. His key numbers are a little take a hit at home, but he doesn't allow home runs. Big issue is he's been allowing some power to right-handed bats, and the Angels have plenty of power from the right side. Bryce Miller made his return last time out from a lengthy IL stay and did not look good. You get San Diego, who just doesn't strike out all that much, so I just can't get on the Bryce Miller train. JP Sears on the other side, uh, decent his last start against San Francisco, was pretty bad in his first start with San Diego. A couple of starts against Seattle this season, pretty strong numbers. So he's somebody that I'm going to consider, but I want to dig into a little bit more. He kind of falls into that McGreevy Oviedo category. Um, Seattle's just had so much power that I'm afraid to get too heavy there. Detroit and the A's, JT Ginn, not somebody I'm going to get to in this spot, even though Detroit can strike out a decent amount. At home, he's been atrocious, so I'm going to pass. Skubal, obviously, the best, arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Ton of upside. Struggled against the A's the first time I faced him, but there's just a ton of K upside in the spot. Um, he could give up a solo home run or two, and it wouldn't shock me. So I am definitely going to use Skubal, though. Last game of the night, Hunter Green, somebody I'm definitely using. 2 starts since coming off the IL, been absolutely dominant. 12 Ks his last time out. And the Dodgers have shown some struggles recently. The other side, Emmett Sheehan looked pretty good for a while in Coors. Kind of hit a wall, but he's had some pretty strong starts. And I think Cincinnati's weak enough that I think Sheehan has enough upside on the slate. But there we have it. There's our first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc. I'll put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. And I will drop a link to our merch store. You can check out some of the apparel and everything. Check out my hoodie here. That'll be in the description as well. So as always, best of luck, everybody.